football, baby. San Diego takeover.
Sports Network for the Roger Hughes Show. Now, defensively, one of the bugaboos this year has been that big play. You know, Hodges rang up 273 yards for San Diego against us, and it was primarily done on 3 runs. You've gone to that blitzing style. For those of you that haven't seen yet, you need to come check it out because it's fun. It's like the old Joe Lee Dunn philosophy. You just put more than they can block.
Joe Lee Dunn had the philosophy, because I talked to Joe Lee one time, and I said, Joe, what's your plan today? He goes, I'm going to run a different blitz every play until I find one they haven't practiced, and I'm going to run it again and again and again. And
nice.
But part of that's out of necessity, because right now we're still young on the defensive line, and physically we're not matching up at times, so we've got to do some things to help them. And part of that is getting the linebackers up on the line of scrimmage. And the other thing that people don't understand, but most teams are zone blocking, which means that if they can, they want to put 2 offensive linemen on a defensive lineman. Well, to stop them from doing it, the faster the linebacker reacts, the quicker that second lineman has to come off that block. So it creates more single teams, which in theory should help you be able to defeat the block.
Right.
And so we're trying to do that. Now, with that means that you've got to be very sound at your gap responsibilities. And last week, you know, overall we had 5 3-and-outs. We had, I think, 6 tackles for losses, and we did some great things, and certainly we created 5 turnovers. But you can't give up the big play, and we were trying a new linebacker and seeing what he could do, because long term I think he's going to be a pretty good player. And he didn't close where he was supposed to close, and when you have the back with the caliber of Hodges' talent, they're going to take advantage of that. And we're going to see a similar type back this week from Jacksonville. So again, that's part of experience, and that's part of trusting your teammates to be where you're supposed to be, and you fitting into the team concept of our defense. And if we get that figured out, we're getting better each week, because those are not happening as much each week, but as you play better teams, they expose your weaknesses.
Well, one thing it does show is you've got tremendous confidence in your secondary.
We have to. Our secondary has to play well, and what teams have done earlier was try to get a good matchup on Ryan Powers, our safety. And one thing I was so proud about Ryan, while the matchups aren't always to his skill level, he finds a way. And last week you saw a great play where a guy got behind him, and just through sheer effort and determination, the guy catches the ball, Ryan runs up and essentially strips him, takes the ball away, and creates an interception. Well, when people see that on film now, they're not going to be so willing to go after Ryan.
Right.
And he's getting better at being able to play those mismatches, because people are just trying to isolate him, because our corners are pretty good. I thought Glenn Adesoji had his best game. And really we got called for a pass interference that kept a drive alive in the third quarter that they scored on. That never should have been a pass interference call. He absolutely played it perfectly, stripped the ball,
We'll talk more about it.
Yeah,
I definitely want to talk about that because I know exactly what you're talking about, and it was a little bit frustrating. But it is good, though, again, that we can point to specific instances in games that led to a loss. It's not about being outmanned. It's not about being out-schemed or out-talented. It's all about just little things that happen that the football guys are the ones that have control of. So I want to bring up Chris Crawford because Chris, if you're watching, I'm not trying to throw you under the bus. I've seen your development. I've seen Chris's development, and the point is that it's something as little as foot positioning, body positioning, that stands between him being a great receiver and a good receiver.
Well, I think, last year he struggled early catching the ball, and he's worked very hard at that, has made some unbelievable catches this year. And now the next step for him is to catch and run with it afterwards. He's so focused on catching, sometimes he goes to the ground a little bit too easy. I thought Chris started the game, he was so hyped up for that game, he actually made a couple mistakes in the routes that he ran. And but we got him. But
Yeah.
The old Chris, and frankly, this is kind of where our team is. The old team would panic and not be able to get back. Where now we're able to, again, through experience, hey, this is what we have to do. There was no panic. They scored on the first play of the game. We tend to give up the first play, it seems like, but our guys come back and they refocus and ended up getting a 3-and-out the next time we're out there.
You take a look at the play-by-play here. 17-16, San Diego takes the lead after a pick was disallowed, and this is something that you and I have talked quite a bit about, frankly, is that it was an underneath holding call. But what stands out to me is the fact that they took a 17-16 lead after that drive where the pick was disallowed, and we just responded with a Jonathan Strahl touchdown pass from Tentler on the subsequent drive.
Well, it's interesting because normally in our goal line package we are in a 3-back set, and Craig Carrington had been hurt, so we actually made an adjustment to go to a 2 tight end 2-back set. And then off of that we run this play we call Geronimo, believe it or not, and it's one we just line up and go, and it's only been stopped one time in my 32 years, and all our
Who
kids know it. Well, actually the quarterback didn't throw it when he was supposed to, and that was Tentler
You
last
blame
year.
it on the quarterback?
It absolutely
really,
was.
Coach?
So the long story short is our kids know that I have so much confidence in that play, and our kids have so much confidence in that play that it just seemed like the right time to call it. And Ryan put it where only Johnny could get it, and Johnny reached out and made a diving catch. And again, we felt we were right in the game. And even the last drive to go down and tie it, we're down 8. We as coaches are kind of joking on the headset because we're just calm. It's just a whole different atmosphere this year after you have experience and our kids have confidence. And we turn it over and we're working on our ball security now. But we're turning it over the 12-yard line. If we score, that game's going overtime, and we have a chance to pull it out.
I want to point out too, Johnny Strahl. One of my faves. He actually interned in the marketing office. During the summer.
Okay.
And I gotta point out his touchdown celebration was very simply he caught the ball and went, "Hey," just like that. He was like, "What up?" I loved it. It was great. It reminded me of the Fonz. Anyway, we're gonna take another timeout. But when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit of soccer. We've got women's coach Ernie Yarborough, men's coach Manoj Khetri coming up. And we're going to take a timeout here on the Hatter Chatter and the Roger Hughes Show. We'll be right back.
In the past 2 seasons, new leadership has taken over both the men's and women's soccer programs. The lure of the sun and the beach can tempt anyone to the Sunshine State, but it was Stetson University's commitment to a strong soccer program that sealed the deal for both head coaches.
Obviously, the facilities, the support that the administration provides for the soccer program were significantly greater than I had experienced at my previous stop.
And once you started talking to the administration and some of the people around the program and found out what they were willing to put into it to make it successful, I think it was the right place at the right time. Certainly I've been waiting for an opportunity to guide a program that I feel can be successful at a good level, and they provided that opportunity.
The men's and women's teams both are relatively young, and that presented early challenges. As the season progressed, the maturity of the squads has impressed the coaching staffs.
Well, I'm pleased. You know, one of the things we talked about right when I got here from day one was being able to compete in every match, talking about being a team that was difficult to play against, and certainly being in a game at the end of a game where you have a chance to win the game. And I think the progression's been very positive. You know, I think we're playing some of our best football right now, but I would say there's a very good buy-in to the way things should be done. And I think we're starting to see that both in our conference games as well as our out-of-conference games the last couple weeks. Well, I'd like to think that we can keep the ball a little bit. I'd like to think that we're more of an indirect team versus a direct team, just pushing the balls into the front third of the field. But having said that, you have to take advantage of what's in your program and in your team, and we do have some athletes that can get behind other teams. So I think what you're going to see is you're going to see a team that works extremely hard. You're going to see a team that stays pretty well connected together to try to find the way to stop the other team. And when the opportunities come here at the ATC, certainly in the last couple games, we've been able to take care of those chances and score some goals.
I think our seniors and our leaders on the team have finally started to find their voice and be able to exert some leadership, which has helped a great deal. I think the younger players have started to get used to the everyday rigor of Division I college athletics and what the standards are. And then I think playing a difficult non-conference season has prepared them somewhat for conference. You know, it's pressure-packed, significantly more so in conference than it is out of conference. But if you play cupcakes, I don't think you prepare your players for, you know, the nitty-gritty of conference. It's a fine line that you have to walk. I think you have to balance games in the non-conference. We accepted the Minnesota game because, you know, we've got a Big Ten institution that wants to come here and play us at home. I don't want to turn down a home game against a really good opponent. What those two games allowed us to do was to measure where we are against those kinds of teams, how much improvement our players need to do in order to compete with teams like that on a regular basis. And then we were also able to identify some things that we did well against them that we, after the game, were able to say, look, if we can do this against the Florida State, we can do this against anyone, because this is a team that's legitimately going to compete for a national championship.
Both teams are pushing through the final matches of the regular season, building momentum for the Atlantic Sun Tournament.
Certainly being in a good position for the conference tournament is very important. You want to position yourself in the top half of the league if you can. Certainly getting results on the road is important. Protecting your home field is very important. And I think if you can get into that top half of the league and have a home game or two in the earlier rounds, or if somehow you get to be the top 1 or 2 and things go your way, have all 3 of those games at home, you certainly have a much better chance of winning that event and putting yourself in a position to play in the NCAA tournament.
For this past year, we said, listen, we finished 5th last year. We want to finish in the top 4. We want to be able to host a tournament game. Our seniors last year we had 23 players on our roster. Only 3 players had ever experienced playing in an ASUN tournament. So for us, our goals are simple. We want to host an ASUN tournament game, and we want our seniors to leave, for every single player left in this program, a legacy of we won an ASUN tournament conference game. That will provide, I think, impetus, confidence, motivation for the group that they have left behind, that we can win the ASUN conference tournament. But you have to start by winning a game.
And the ultimate on-the-field goals for the Stetson University soccer programs are championships.
We talk about competing for championships, whether it's in the Atlantic Sun, in our conference, or whether at some point going on to potentially, hopefully play in the national tournament and win that championship as well. You have to strive for those goals, whether it happens this season or, as you've mentioned, in a couple years. That's going to be the goal for the team, is to compete for and play for championships. And we're going to do a very good job with the players we have. We're going to recruit the right players for this program to compete going forward, and we're certainly looking forward to building this thing into a perennial Atlantic Sun power, and hopefully one in the region that is well respected and certainly nationally can go and get games against the best teams in the country, and then at the end of the year take our chances in whatever event we can get into.
We want to compete for and win championships here. I think you've got some programs here that have shown that they can do that. Particularly, women's basketball has shown that we can be a conference champion, not just regular season, but in the tournament. Last year softball had a fantastic run and won the conference tournament. And I don't see why women's soccer can't do much of the same thing.
The blueprint is down, and the foundation is starting to take place. And these coaches know the key to a strong program.
Well, I think if you talk to any college coach, they'll tell you the lifeblood of a program is recruiting. So on a regular basis, you have to bring in quality players and players that you feel like are going to make your program better. I would also argue with you that I think we're the best school academically in the state of Florida. So I think there's a lot of things that we can draw from that will excite young women, not just from all over the U.S., but internationally.
Well, certainly you have to make the academic standards here at the university. It's a very, very good academic school. We certainly are going to compete for some of the academic best, but at the same time you have to be able to compete on the field. And I think we're looking for guys that are good athletes, Division I level athletes, who have what we call a positive or very good soccer IQ, and can play the game the right way. You have to be a good kid off the field and fit the values of the program. And so far we've got 25 guys in our team right now who are doing a really good job of that. And we're hoping to bring in some more of them.
We have to make sure that we continue that pipeline, that we continue to attract players who maybe are better than the program has seen over the past few years. But then we also have a responsibility and obligation to make the players who are here better. And what we've seen is that the players who we've inherited, we are able to help them improve and get better, to make them better leaders, to make them more responsible citizens, and to help them grow as people.
You still have a couple of opportunities to see the soccer teams in action at the ATC this year. For ticket information, call 386-738-HATS or visit www.gohatters.com.
here on Patter Chatter from the Half Wall Beer House in DeLand at the intersection of Woodland and Indiana. And also on the Roger Hughes Show on the Bright House Sports Network. Jacksonville coming to town 6 o'clock. These guys are a juggernaut, basically, for lack of a better term. They have a reputation of playing very hard, let's say, to do whatever it takes. And they do play hard, and they're going to challenge your guys.
Without question, this is probably our biggest challenge of the season so far. They're leading the Pioneer League. Their quarterback, Cade Bell, who is the son of Kerwin Bell, their head coach, was the Offensive Player of the Week this week in the PFL. He can throw it. He can run it. He'd been injured a little bit earlier in the year and had not been running as much, but he's back to full speed now, and he's certainly a threat with his feet. They have a great running back, and they have great returners in their special teams game. They're big physical on the offense, and they've got some very good receivers outside. So it's going to be a huge challenge. The best thing we can do to defend them is keep them off the field. And offensively, we're going to face a defense that's probably as fast and as quick and as athletic as we've ever faced. They have some great edge rushers. They don't stay blocked very long. They're always moving. They're always twisting. Their secondary supports well and runs probably better than the secondary we faced, including the scholarship schools of Mercer and FIT. So it's going to be a dramatic challenge for us.
One of the things that's really emerged is, one of the players that's really emerged is number 86, Keegan Moore. You send him down on the sideline, and you'll give him a try a good 3 or 4 times a game. What's been the difference for Keegan?
Well, I think Keegan's playing better because he's feeling a lot more comfortable with the whole aspect of his life. You know, he is a ROTC participant that helps he and his family afford Stetson education, and so he was a little bit slow to pick up what we were doing offensively, but it's clicked for him now, and I think as he has more success, he gains more and more confidence, which leads to more and more success. He's blocking much better. He's running routes much better. And clearly, you know, I think it's going to open some eyes from the standpoint of our speed ability to get behind people. And I think that's going to open up our running game as we go forward, because if they play 2 high safeties, they can't have those guys down in the box. The unique thing about Jacksonville is those safeties are so athletic that they can start at 12 yards and be in your backfield before you know it. So we've got to make sure we account for them on the perimeter. Our wide receivers need to do a better job of blocking than they did last weekend. Well, they were a little bit inconsistent, and so we've got to be hitting on all cylinders, and we've got to play with a lot of energy and a lot of passion, and that's where having that place packed down there in DeLand, having Spec Martin completely full, makes a huge difference. And I think, you know, if you watched us earlier in the season, we were going against people who had scholarships, frankly, and were better than us. But I think as we've increased and elevated our play, and I think as the competition has gone from a different level to the Pioneer League, I think you're going to see a much different game if you come out to watch us this week.
Well, one thing that we've talked about quite a bit is the speed. You know, the speed difference. We've got speed on offense now. Last week, and I know from hearing a few of the players after the game on Saturday, one of the things they were frustrated about is San Diego stayed primarily in a base 4-3 and had 2 deep safeties. Every now and then you'd see Keegan get matched up, and that's when you would try to take advantage of a one-on-one matchup on the outside. But for the most part, they laid back. Are we going to see more of an attacking defense from Jacksonville?
Absolutely. And they don't blitz a lot, but what they do is they twist their line, they move their line, they're slanting all the time, and so they're using their quickness up front. So we're going to have to make sure that our combinations are such that if he takes a gap, we got some guy helping him, and so that we're trying to get 2-on-1 as much as we can, and try to be as physical as we can up front. We've got to make sure that you know, if you can get hands on them and helmets on them, you have a chance, and that's going to be our biggest concern, is trying to scheme things up so that we can do that. The second thing is we've got to have a good pass protection for Ryan, and so that we can threaten the ball down the field, because to keep those safeties and others out, we've got to be able to throw the ball down the field a little bit, and to do that, you've got to have pass protection. And so we're going to make sure that our matchups, we still have a freshman starting our left tackle in Charles Wallace, and he's doing a great job, but again, experience is the best teacher, and so he's going to be going against some very experienced defensive linemen who have a lot of tricks up their sleeve, and we got to just keep his head on straight and making sure that we're doing everything we can to help him, with either chipping with the back or sliding to him or things like that to help him.
Well, I'll tell you, with Ryan, another thing you can do to help him is help him learn how to keep down his breakfast.
For those of you who didn't see the game, Ryan had about a 60-yard run and then threw up on the field. Now, what I've got to do is make sure that he can't call timeout. He's just got to go down the field.
He's got to go down,
We don't have to worry about that. But
lay in it.
It was interesting, so listen, this
hey, you got to take
job,
one for the team.
No question. This job has made me see about everything in the world of football, and that
No
was
doubt.
one I hadn't seen before. And
yeah.
So, yeah. We got to make sure that our pregame meal is a little bit different. Than
It must have been those scrambled eggs. They were
eggs
runny.
were a little runny.
I told Steve, I was like, man, they were runny eggs. I'm sorry, I don't care what you say, but he was smiling about it, laughing about it. I kidded him going down the jetway to the airplane as we were leaving. I told him, I said, don't worry, man, it's just your that's your Joe Montana moment. But we do need a big crowd this weekend. Of course, is the Pink Army. It's jointhepinkarmy.com. It is really the cancer treatment fund for Florida Hospital. And what's amazing about this is, Zeta Tau Alpha is selling T-shirts that commemorate the event as being the Pink Army game. And we also have a ticket deal where you can order tickets online using the promo code Pink Army. And you will get a $20 general admission ticket for $15. So you save $5, but also $5 goes to the Florida Hospital DeLand Cancer Treatment Fund. And what this fund is, and what's interesting about this, is that this fund, all the money is going to stay in DeLand. It's not like it's going off to St. Louis and then being distributed across the country. This money is going to stay at home, and it's going to go to people who have need to pay for treatment. It's not for research either. So it's going to help real folks, and I think that's wonderful.
I think it's great, and certainly we do need research, and they need the national organizations, but this organization, as well as the Me Strong that we worked with our women's clinic, and Linda Ryan we had on last week, we want to keep all of our funds local because we're so thankful for the partnership DeLand and Stetson have together, but more importantly, as you said, we're helping real people and people who affect our lives every day, and so we want to make sure that whatever help we can provide goes directly to our community.
We appreciate you for making good things happen. Come on out to Spec Martin Stadium this weekend, 6 o'clock. Saturday night, Jacksonville will come to town, supposedly the best team in the Pioneer League. But after Stetson taking San Diego to the wire, making a lot of great things happen, I think it's going to be an outstanding game. Pink Army game. Make sure, get your pink T-shirt. Zeta will be selling them at the stadium on site. They'll be walking around all over the place. So we'll see you next time right here on the Roger Hughes Show. Good night, everybody.